Welcome to this short overview of the Hashiru project system. We're going to highlight a few key features and some of the functions of the system. It's not going to be a hugely long video, but to give you an idea of why we've built it, how it works, and how you can use it yourselves. So if you've ever used Salesforce before, you'll probably recognize the layout of the screens and the tabs. We've chosen Salesforce for the reason that it's kind of got the best reporting, best data functionality of many of the platforms out there. There's a whole host of other reasons why it's built on that, but for us, it was always starting from the data, the reporting, and the information that we could get from it. And as such, we're actually going to do the demo almost backwards. We're going to start from the reports that we generate from the system, and then we'll work backwards as to kind of how they've come about and why we've got them in. So the first one I want to take you through is our end of race report. And we'll obviously explain what races are in a minute. But if you think of a race as a time box period, it could be a reporting period, it could be a stage within your project, then we're very quickly looking at how we're getting on within that race. So here you can see 100%. That means we had maybe 10 tasks to complete within that race. We've marked all 10 as complete. You'll see here we've got dropped down to 87.5. This really is to give you a bit of an overview of where your projects are at and where you might need to step in and look at them or provide some additional help or support. So you'll see here that we've now started to see some ambers. We've got some reds in there. So immediately you can look at that and go, okay, looks quite healthy. We're going green, green, green. Why have we now dropped to ambers? What's not happening? Are people not available? Why aren't we completing tasks on these projects? And it's really just kind of like a very quick visual stimulus to say, where are we? What are we doing? How are we getting on? So we kind of know if we've got lots of projects running, we know where some of that focus needs to be. Now, if you add to this the fact that you've then got other reports within the system, one of those is tasks by type. So now we're looking at the fact that in the core system, every time we put a task into it, we have to give it one of 5 categories. They are discuss, discover, decide, design, and deliver. All fairly common categories within projects, but not actually always captured within the project data itself. These are things that quite often disappear off into emails, Word documents, SharePoint folders, or somewhere else. We're making sure we're keeping all of that data within the single system. But it also means we can, again, have a very quick view, and we're going to look at this project CRM installation. We were having conversations, we were having discussions, they were marking off, suddenly they've dropped down to 0. So as a lead, head of PMO, I now want to know, why aren't we having conversations, who's not about, what's happening with that project. So we're matching this report with the previous report. Are we completing tasks? Are they getting done on time? We can now look at what type of tasks are being done. Everything within the reports is kind of clickable through into next pages. Again, the huge benefit of using Salesforce of the platform is that you've got that ability to click through. The third report, I'm only going to show you 3 or 4 reports in this because I don't want to show you everything in the system. But this is almost the same report that we've just done, but we've now filtered it purely by decide tasks. So this is every decision we've made against projects. So immediately here we can look at, okay, we've got decision tasks, they're complete, but we haven't put an outcome in. So obviously we need to improve that. We need to make sure we've got that outcome recorded. We've got a decision here, it's not been completed. Okay, do we need to do some work? Do we need to look at that? What do we need to do to get this decision made? And as you can see, all of this information is then going to be in your system forever. So you're basically creating not just that level of governance you need now in a project, you're also looking to the future where you want maybe an audit trail to look back on in a year's time. And you might be thinking, okay, why did we build something blue when we could have built it red? You should have a decision task that says we've decided to go red because X, Y, and Z. So you can look back and see that. So for us, data, reporting, governance, everything like that was hugely important within the system. And it's kind of where we started when we built it, because I've been in the position where I've had to write reports. I've spent days at the end of each month writing highlight reports, project reports, knowing that they're probably never going to be read by anyone else. It's taken too long. I've also been in a position where reports have been delivered to me, and actually I'll probably read the first couple of lines of the summary. I don't go any further into it. This is kind of giving you that agility within your projects to create reports very quickly. All of these reports can be built very, very quickly. There's a report builder in Salesforce. They can be generated with 1 or 2 clicks only. It's very quick and simple to start to get a really good level of information about your projects with very little additional effort being made by you. One of our other reports that we really like, end of project success. This is about our system and helping you through projects, helping coach you through. At the end of every project, you give it a gold, silver, or bronze criteria. You can write your own criteria. You can understand what that is. But as a project team, again, it just means at the end of the year, the financial year, you can look back and go, okay, we delivered 15 projects, 7 were gold, 3 were silver, and 5 were bronze. What do we need to do to move some of those bronzes into silver? What would have made some of the silvers gold? Can we improve as a team how we're actually delivering projects? So we're not just talking about project management and running projects. There's an element, as we've always said, about coaching, talking people through projects, looking back, doing retrospectives. And I really kind of like the phrases minimum viable reporting and minimum viable governance. So we're not trying to put massive amounts of governance around an agile project, but we are recognizing that we do need some, and that senior people within your organization need a level of comfort that the projects you're running are going in the right direction and they're going to deliver the success that they need to deliver. And this is about how we kind of built a system that gives you that, but also gives you that flexibility and freedom within the rest of the system to not really bog you down into spending all of your life in a project management tool. We've tried to design it. We say to be as easy as Excel, but with a lot more kind of comprehensive information in it. It's not quite as easy as Excel, but it's not difficult, and it's not difficult to learn. Now, one of the other things we have done with this is, if we just click into a project quickly, is within each project itself, there's a reporting tab. So this will give you a number of reports within that project, but this has pre-filtered them. So you're now only seeing individual projects. So every project within your system just has that view, and you can edit this, you can change them, you can drop different reports, and you can have whichever ones you want in the system, but it just means you can filter them by individual project. And we'll come on to our kind of project on a page model later, but this is part of that process. So we've got a tab up here where we can pull reports across our entire program or portfolio, but then every single project itself has its own reporting tab with the individual information. So again, you're thinking about whether you're just the project manager, whether you're PMO, head of IT, head of transformation, you've got access to various levels of information. Now, each system you do get a dashboard, as you probably expect with most of these systems nowadays. Again, all of these dashboard items are just reports that have been built in the back system, and you can go in and view the actual reports just by clicking the blue link. So again, all of this is customizable. If you don't want this information, you can go into dashboards up here and you can basically edit, drop your own reports in and change that as much as you like. But again, it's just to give you a visual kind of update of where you're at and what we're doing kind of here with task types and various other bits. I'm going to touch on races. I'm just going to drop into this org for that. So races, not hugely complex. We've already kind of touched on Agile. If you're talking Agile, some people automatically think that means Scrum. In Scrum, you have sprints. And sprints are normally a defined period. So it's almost like 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. And that's largely to do with measuring cadence, how much work you're getting through, how many stories are getting delivered within each sprint. So you can measure that. Here we're talking about projects. Projects are very different. We don't have to have that cadence of tasks going through. We need to break down our projects into chunks of time that we can manage the work within each of them. It might sound complex to some, but actually most people already break their projects down into months. You do monthly highlight reports, you do monthly reporting. I quite often recommend that when you set the races up, you just set them up as monthly races anyway, and you can always edit them later. But the key is that it gives you that flexibility to say, okay, at the start of a project, we might want to think about doing this monthly. As we get towards the end of the project, and as we start to get nearer to go live, or we're doing more user testing, or we're doing functionality testing, something like that, we might need to go down to weekly races, because we want to be able to pull a report on task complete each week to tell us where we're at, how we're getting on, whether or not we're going to do a go, no go meeting and go live with the new system or the new process, new policies. So it's just giving you that flexibility to say it doesn't have to be monthly chunks, monthly reports, because sometimes by the time you've read a monthly report, it's 3 weeks out of date anyway. So you can just be much more flexible with how you run your projects. And you can either think of it as a reporting period and say each race we put in is how long we want to report on, or you can think of each one as a stage within a project. So your race number 1 might be a foundation stage, it might then be a build phase, it might be a configure phase, a deliver phase. How you use them really is up to you, but we're trying to get rid of kind of the long linear kind of Gantt chart approach and move to a much more flexible, much more agile, much more adaptable version of that. So I'm not going to go through exactly how it all gets created. It's almost 1-2 clicks, you drop the dates in. Each race will just be sequential to the next. But what you do have is a lot of options within the system. So again, benefit of building all on Salesforce. Here's every race across every project that we've got in the system. We can view that as a list view as it is now. We can easily drop it into a Kanban board and just see where we're going with each of these. Or we can do a split view and easily see what information is held against each race. And you'll see each of these has some information, what the outcome's meant to be, how many tasks are in each one, how many are incomplete, completed. And we can go back to this board, and you've got list views as well within Salesforce. You can build these yourselves. So race board, if we move to that one, that effectively now is just telling you information about races that are either running now or kind of one of the next 2 to start or finish. So we're kind of filtering a lot of that data just to individual information. So you could create list views with races that are just allocated to you. You're the only one that's going to look at it, so you can just see yours. But again, you've got that kind of higher holistic view across everything. If you're more of a head of PMO or a head of IT, head of transformation, to be able to see everything. Within that, then, we're really talking about breaking all of your all the work that you've got to do down into tasks or actions. So again, we've got all the options. We've got table view, Kanban, split views. We've got lists. We can have all. We can have my tasks, task boards, recently viewed. You've got lots of options. You can configure yourselves and work out exactly what you want to do with them. But what we do have, I'm going to just jump into here. I'm going to click on new. So we're going to put a new task in. Very quick and easy. What is it? Which race is it going to be in? And some people ask me about longer tasks. I always, same way that we do within kind of Scrum, try and break your tasks down into tasks that can be completed within the time period of a race. So sometimes you might have one long task. You might actually need to break it into 3 smaller tasks that then get put into 3 different races. It just makes it so much simpler to report on. Projects, they will just bring up, as soon as you start typing, it'll bring up, same with races. But type, this is where we, again, brought our own methodology into it. So we've thought about projects, why they fail, why they drift apart, why kind of sometimes IT or digital and hesitate to say the business, but the business do kind of split on some of these projects. And actually, where does some of that information sit when we're trying to look back at what we've done? And as we've said, it sometimes is in emails, it might be Word documents, templates, SharePoint folders, could be all over the place, everywhere apart from in the actual project where you actually want that information. So discuss tasks, we're talking about conversations that we're having, who are we talking to, who do we need to talk to, and about what. It might be some of the show and tells that we're doing. Discover, what discovery we're doing, what we found, what feedback have we had from the show and tells, what have we looked at going forwards, what's going to happen in the next race, what can we find from that. Decisions, you've seen the reports, so we're already putting decisions into the system as opposed to everywhere else. Design, if we're building something or we're creating new processes or new ideas, let's get them all in the project, let's drop them in and do that, and then deliver. What tasks, actions do we need to deliver within this period as well? And again, you've got allocated to, you've got contact lists in the back, descriptions, outcomes, and then we save all of those. And then once they're complete, we either mark it as complete, or if we get to the end of a race and it's not been done, we mark it as incomplete. If the next race has already been generated, that incomplete task will move itself into the next race. It will create that for you. So again, we're just trying to think about how we can kind of help you on that journey. But then again, you'll see the report that we generated, that end of race report, is number of tasks complete versus number of tasks incomplete within each race. So you're free to add your own task types. You can change the task types. You can amend that. You don't have to use actions. You can just have tasks. However you want to use it is up to you. But again, if you're then looking across entire programs, you can see every task that's got to be completed within that, and you can add columns to this and add who each task is allocated to and various other elements that you can then report on too. So a lot of flexibility, but you can see everything is kind of one click, add some detail, put some text in. There's nothing really more difficult than an Excel box to fill in on any of this. Risks and issues is a great one because, again, you've got that complete view. So we've got risk and issues across every single project that we've got running. So from a PMO perspective, we're looking across the program. We want to know where's our key risks, what do we need to focus on, where are we looking. But then if we go back into each individual project and we go into this, you'll see that we've got risk and issues log just for this project. So you start to put risks in, you divvy them up. Once you've got a risk in and you want to view it, you've also got a button that upgrades the risk to an issue. So if it is something that's now happening, so a risk is a potential, an issue is something that's actual, it's one click to upgrade that to an issue. And you'll have noticed on the when we looked at it as a list view, all of these with zeros against them, that's because they've been converted to issues. So we've got the scoring matrix 4x4 against risks. Once it becomes an issue, that matrix drops off. But again, it's literally a 4x4 drop: critical, major, minor, negligible versus hardly ever possible, probable, almost certain. And again, if you want to use different words, absolutely go in the back of the system, change the words, but it'll always be a 4x4 grid for that. And you put mitigations in and various other information that you want to. So one of the key things that we also think we stand out from is what we kind of refer to as project on a page. So this is that single page view. We're looking at one project. We've got information about the project. We know which program it's in. We know who owns it. We know the status. We know the start dates. We know the budget. We've got information when we get to the project close, which again is all about reporting. You don't have to fill these in, completely up to you. You can't fill it in until the project status has been changed to complete, but it does then allow you to look back on your projects and see how you did. Over on the right-hand side, you've then got all your various other information, any documentation, spreadsheets, Word documents, anything you want to add to the project, you can drop them in here. Again, it's all about keeping that information in one place. All of the races within this project are here, and all of the tasks and actions are within that project here. And if you view them from that page, you're only going to see that project and those races related to that. So you're not in a tab at the top, you're in your individual project. Same with the tasks, it will just show you the tasks against this. We've only got them at the moment against one race, but again, you can see exactly what you've got in and who they've been allocated to. So that information all sits on a single page. We've also then added Chatter, which is Salesforce's kind of instant messaging tool. So again, if we want to talk to someone about the project, we can actually drop notes in here. And again, we're keeping all that information on that single project page. And then the reporting tab. There's not a lot of data in this org, but you kind of get the idea. We're trying to keep all of that information together in one place. So if you're a project manager, you're only interested in your individual project, you can just see that information. There is a higher level, so programs sit at the top. Again, everything is one click new. You want to put a new program in, you can add some information and some description. And there's some information that we're just putting in, very high level. But again, everything in this you can add. Each one of these elements is basically called an object within Salesforce. You can add up to 500 data fields per object. So there's huge amounts of information you can just add in as you require within your organization. So we're giving you kind of a system that works. You've got the framework, you've got the basics, you've got the reporting, you've got the tools. If there's elements you don't like or you want to change or you want to improve on, it's up to you to be able to do that. You'll see a list of the projects that will grow, and then subprograms is something you can use or not use, but we use them to effectively, when a project comes to an end and it's not completed, we close that project, we open a second project. And what that means is, in this example, so if you saw a CRM installation subprogram, you would know that when you set that project up with a start date and an end date, you know it went past the end date. And you could end up with 3 or 4 CRM installations, and it could be that it's been delayed and it's overrun, or it might be that you actually put some more money into it because you found that another 3 weeks of configuration actually gives you a much better return on investment than stopping where you are. So it's not a bad thing to have subprograms, but this page allows you to see immediately how many of your projects have been extended past the original end date, if that's something you want to use. So that's really the system. It's relatively straightforward. As we've said, we don't want it to be burdensome. We don't want it to take all day, every day. We don't want you to spend days and weeks looking at Gantt charts and amending it and moving stuff all over the place. You have a program at the highest level. Your program is broken down into projects. Your project is broken down into a number of time boxes, which we call races. And each race has a series of tasks and actions within it that need completing. You've got your risks and issues log. We can then pull reports. We can see dashboards. It's as simple as that. And we've tried to keep it that simple on purpose, because there's so many tools out there that have got so complex, they've stuck CRMs on the back of them, and we've got a project tool for marketing, we've got a project tool for this, we've got something else. Trying to keep it as simple as possible, straightforward and simple as easy to use, but huge amounts of customization in the back of this system. So again, Salesforce talk about something called objects. Programs is an object, projects is, races is, tasks and risks is. So we've got 5 objects within this system. Under the terms of the license, you can add up to 10 more. So you can basically triple the size of the system. And each of those objects holds 500 data fields. They can be dates, they can be equations, they can be text. There's a whole raft of options. There's processes, there's flows you can build. There's all sorts you can do. So if you really want to take it to the next level, you really can do. And again, if you already understand Salesforce, you might also use Slack, you might also use Tableau. You could hook this up with that and add to it. But the key thing really is you don't have to use Salesforce already. There are many project management systems on the market that are built on Salesforce, but they're purely for if you're already a Salesforce customer, that you can then use them. They're designed to work with kind of the CRM, the Sales Cloud and the Service Cloud. This is 100% standalone. You can have this, it can run, and you basically get in the power of what I would describe as the world's best CRM, and applying all of that power and logic to your projects. So very quick 25-minute overview. Hope that was of interest, but that's the system, how we've designed it, how you use it, how simple it is. And I hope that's of interest to you. And if it is, drop me a line via the contact form. Otherwise, you can go onto the Salesforce App Exchange and download a free trial immediately straight away. So thank you very much for watching.